Shalom, shalom, shalom. Shabbat shalom, family. All praise to the Most High. Anytime, sister. Anytime. Glad I can help out. All praise to the Most High. Modest T. Ashley, Akin, shalom. Jehoshaphat, I'm saying it right. Jehoshaphat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Jehoshaphat, Shalaki. Shabbat shalom to everybody tuning in. Gonna start in a second. Just want to give it time. Lord willing, everybody's Sabbath is going well. AC, shalom, ma. Shalom. Mahal. Shalom, ma. The water. Law soul food, shalom. Shalom. Sir Araya. Shalom, ma. Shalom. Yahabashim Yashab, brother. Glad to see everybody tuned in. I know it's been a few weeks. We've been having a lot of stuff going on with the body, so it's a few days and everything. So trying to get back into the rhythm. So shalom. I'm just gonna give it a few moments. So as y'all can see, this was more of a nah, that's definitely me. Nah, I was playing. that's me playing it. That's me playing it. All praise to the Most High. So yeah, this a little bit different because this is more of a requested video from the beloved sisters. Just wanted me to go on this topic. Now, I said in the title that it's from a man's perspective, but I'm going to say it's more of my perspective because I believe the process of courting is much of a subjective process where it pretty much works differently for other people. So like let me go ahead and stop this. Where it pretty much works differently for other people. It's that old saying, different strokes for different folks. But as long as it's all in righteousness, then there's no issue. So instead of it being a general mass perspective, because I could do it that way too, but I'm going to say mostly from my perspective for the most part, on courting and pretty much how it should go or what you should look for and things I learned throughout the years, and just pretty much go from there. Of course with the scriptures, but let's pretty much go from there. So like I said, this one is the requested one from the beloved sister. So we're going to pretty much get into it in a minute. Lord willing, everybody's Sabbath going well, blessed and holy. All praise to the Father, in the name of his only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, our Savior. But courting, man, courting, it's a beautiful thing. Like I said, it's very subjective, in my opinion. It's a very subjective thing. But man, courting is beautiful, especially if it's done right, leading up to marriage. That could be a beautiful thing. And I think that for people who want to court, they should be at a certain place spiritually and mentally to even begin to even want to do that. And I'm gonna get into it because we know that everyone is not um ready for that at that point in time necessarily. But I believe that anyone can, be prepared for that. Just gotta, do the work and do the right things necessarily to even begin doing that for man and woman, really. Because most of us desire to be married. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a good thing. Most I love marriage, but it's before we can even get to that point. We got to make sure that we are in a position to even be able to do that. Because a lot of us not. But like I said, not saying that we can't never get there, but there's work that got to be done to even get to that point, spiritually, mentally, and physically. Um, so once again, Shabbat Shalom to everybody tuning in. Lord willing, y'all Sabbath going well. So yeah, like I was saying, courting. Before we can even, I think for a lot of us, before we can even get into that, there's work that got to be done inwardly. And I'm gonna pull a scripture real quick in Second Corinthians because a lot of people do desire to be married and want to have husbands and wives, but before you can even get to that point, I think a lot of us got to make sure that we doing what we got to do to even be worthy of the Most High to be put in that position in the first place. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and jump to Second Corinthians, and we all know this, but we're gonna bring it out for edification's sake. Second Corinthians chapter 13, and I'm gonna start on verse 5. Second Corinthians chapter 15, and I'm starting on verse 5. It says, examine yourselves, whether ye be in the faith. Prove your own selves. Know ye not your own selves how that Yahweh Shah is in you, except ye be reprobates? So I want to focus on the first part where it says to examine yourselves whether ye be in the faith, prove your own selves. So the takeaway from that is obviously you have to examine and prove your own self to understand within yourself if you're even ready for that. Because a lot of us do have a lot of baggage, a lot of scars, and a lot of things that we haven't necessarily worked out fully to further progress into that next phase of life. Because we all know marriage is serious. It's not all about flowers and roses and it's not all peaches and cream and good times and good vibes. Not always like that. It gets real, and I'm pretty sure for those that's married can attest to that. That is very serious and it's real. So before you even get to that point, you got to make sure you are in a position to be able to deal with those things, and to know if you're ready for that. You got to examine yourself. You got to examine yourself, and you got to prove yourself to see if you're ready. So you got to be able to sit down and know your own flaws, things you got to work on, things that you're weak in that you could possibly strengthen before going to court. Because nobody wants their time wasted. When people trying to get married, nobody want their time wasted. And I can say that confidently, like nobody wants their time wasted. And it sucks to trying to court somebody and it all goes for naught, but those things can happen for whatever reason, whether you yourself wasn't ready for or it be the other person for whatever reason. You got to be able to examine yourself to know if you're ready for that next part of life. So again, so in Corinthians 13 and 5, examine yourselves whether ye be in the faith, prove your own selves. Know ye not your own selves how that Jesus Christ, Yahweh Shah, is in you, except ye be reprobates. So you got to examine yourself. You got to examine yourself. Modest T said people tend to love the idea of marriage, but marriage is a lot of work, but it's a beautiful thing. Exactly. That's 100% facts. Um, I know that for a fact. I'm not married, but I know that it's marriage is real because you're gonna experience every season. Um, yeah, and people do tend to love the idea of marriage, but and from what I've seen, people end up getting to these marriages, quote unquote marriages or relationships, and find out that that's not what they wanted, or they not even mentally prepared to deal with the stuff that comes with it. Because people thinking it's going to be all fun and games and pictures and trips and good times and eating good and living good and all this different stuff and having the perfect family. And a lot of times it don't even go the way they in their mind think it's going to go. So yeah, that's facts. Sister, yeah, people do tend to love the idea of marriage, but yeah, it's a lot of work. So and the Most High don't play about marriage either. The Most High don't play about marriage. It's honorable, but he don't play about marriage to the point you can't even get divorced. That's how serious it is. So that whole stage of courting is serious. That whole stage of courting is serious. You got to really vet a person and find out the person you're dealing with. And like I said, this is really going to be my perspective on courting, but this how I see it. It should go when you're courting somebody. You got to be able to see if y'all on the same page first and foremost with your beliefs. You got to have that. Like if y'all don't believe the same, then that's gonna be doomed before it even starts. We know the scriptures say, "Can two walk together lest they be agreed?" And we can get it real quick in Amos 3 and 3 for those who may not know. But scriptures say, "Can two walk together lest they agree?" And that's facts. Real quick, Amos chapter 3 and verse 3. It says, "Can two walk together except they be agreed?" Except they be agreed. So you have to first understand if y'all even agree on the same things, and that can be agreeing the same way when it comes to the scriptures, because we know there's different beliefs and different doctrines on how people will see the word. So you got to be able to see if y'all agree on that. Then you got to be able to see if y'all agree as far as your how you want your life to go. Because some people may want to live the travel life, whereas somebody else want to live the homebody life. And if one want to live this way and the other want to live that way, then that's not going to work. It's going to be an issue. That's going to be an issue. So even with lifestyle, you got to see if you agree with lifestyle. You got to see if y'all agree if and wanting the same thing in life. If y'all want a family, if y'all want to do the whole partnership of running the business thing, the whole boss power couple thing, you got to see if you agree if you want that. Salakia, real quick. Let me get this out of here. Salakia. Let me. I don't know what this is. This is folly. Salakia. So yeah, you got to see if you agree on that. There's a lot of things that you got to see if y'all can agree on to even begin to take the next step. But before that, I'm kind of jumping the gun. But before that, when you're dealing with like trying to get into the mode of courting, you gotta examine yourself to know if you even worthy or ready to even court someone. And then for men especially, another thing is for men, for brothers, it's good for us to have a good foundation in the Most High. You gotta have a good foundation in the Most High. You gotta be able to have understanding and wisdom when it comes to the word, because as us being leaders and being the heads and teachers, when we bring somebody on, we got to be able to lead and teach and govern that possession, that beginning of that household. You got to be able to guide and lead that and raise that. So I think once the next step is when you examine yourself, you got to also have a good foundation on that. So from there, I'm jumping to Proverbs real quick. Real quick, Proverbs chapter 4. Proverbs chapter 4, and I'm going to read verse 20. And look, I'm glad you said this. Lost Soul Food, what, Brother Nicole, if I'm saying it right, I'm going to get to that too. I'm definitely get to that. You're right. You're definitely right. I'm going to get to that in a minute. But Proverbs chapter 4 and verse 20, and I'm going to read down. It says, my son, attend to my words, incline thy ear unto my saying. He's talking about wisdom. It says, let them not depart from thine eyes. Keep them in the midst of thine heart, for they are life unto those that find them, and health to all their flesh. So when you getting wisdom, you gotta hold on to that, and that gotta be your foundation. It says, let them not depart from thy eyes, keep them in the midst of thine heart. That's setting your foundation. I'm gonna keep reading. It says, verse 23, keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. It says, put away from thee a forward mouth, and perverse lips put far from thee. Let thine eyes look right on, and let thy eyelids look straight before thee. This is the point that I want right here. It says, ponder the path of thy feet, and let all thy ways be established. So before you can even do that, your ways and your heart and your mind, it has to be established. And that foundation of establishment obviously is of the Most High. It got to be of the Most High. It got to be of the commandments of His laws and how He want us to behave. Verse 27, it says, turn not to the right hand, nor to the left. Remove thy foot from evil. Because if you don't have that foundation set, then that means once you begin to build and to build upon that, that thing is going to fall. It's going to fall before it gets started, because that foundation, or you not established within the Most High yourself to even begin to court a woman, and vice versa. Even for the sisters, there has to be a foundation and establishment of their heart and what they have to do concerning the Most High as their roles and as their ways. It has to be established as well. So without that, it's doomed to fail. It's doomed to fail, and it's not going to work. So there has to be an establishment in the Most High. And remember, let's talk about wisdom too, because when you go back to verse 5, it says, get wisdom, get understanding, forget it not. Neither decline from the words of my mouth, forsake her not, and she shall preserve thee, love her, and she shall keep thee. It's talking about wisdom. Because you can't lead and rule a house on no wisdom. If you're not wise, if you don't have understanding, then you can't govern the house. So you have to get that wisdom. You have to get that understanding, that firm foundation to even be able to do that. And a lot of times, especially, like new brothers that'll come in the faith, off the bat, they want wives. I myself was guilty. I can say that. So I know what I'm talking about. So off the bat, brother want wives as soon as they get in the faith, without even having a foundation on what they're supposed to do and where they should be in understanding, and where their wisdom should be to even be able to do that. So gotta have that foundation first, and that foundation is, of course, in the Most High, getting that wisdom. And we all know what the scriptures say about getting wisdom, on how to get it, or the beginning of wisdom is the fear of the Lord. Real quick, I'm gonna get it in Psalms 111. Psalms 111. So like I said, this is like these are my opinions when it comes to it. Like prerequisites when it comes to before you even start courting, gotta have this before you even start courting. Proverbs 11 and verse 10. It says, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. A good understanding have all they that do his commandments. His praise endure forever." So you gotta have that fear in the Most High. You gotta have that wisdom in the Most High to even lead and govern. If you don't have that, you can't lead nothing. You're gonna lead your house to destruction. That's what you're gonna do if you don't have wisdom, if you don't have understanding, if you don't have the fear of the Lord. And that's one thing sisters gotta look out for too, because a lot of times when people start courting, they feel with so much infatuation. And I say infatuation because it's that excitement of being interested in somebody. It's that excitement of learning someone, getting to know someone. So it's a lot of infection. And what happens is when people start courting, that's the strong sense of infatuation where everything else get overlooked. The important things get overlooked. The sisters not properly proving the men and vice versa. The men not properly um courting or vetting the sisters. And because of that, leaning on much of emotions and not really logically can mess you up. It can mess you up. So that's important. That's important. A man gotta have wisdom, understanding, and so does the woman. But it's a little bit different when it comes to the man because he's the head, he's the governor, he's the teacher, he's the leader, he's the lawgiver. So it's more in him to have these things set and firm and stone so they can lead a house. Because again, men, we dealing with souls. Even me coming on here and giving a lesson, dealing with souls. So it's important and serious when you're talking about leading the house. You got kids involved and a wife and things like that. Those souls are in your hands, and if you don't know what to do with it, you're gonna lead yourself and that entire household to destruction. It won't be pretty. So that has to be in stone. Your foundation, your wisdom, your fear in the Most High, that has to be in stone. So real quick, Salakia. Yeah, so I'm gonna deal with that too. I'm gonna deal with all this. I'm gonna deal with all this. Right. So yeah, they missed the red flags exactly. So and again, I'm guilty of this. When I first came in, I'm guilty of a lot of this. So I can speak on this. So yeah, they missed the red flags. You so caught up in, oh, this person got fringes and head wraps. Oh, this is going to be good. Can't nothing go wrong. Or this brother holding the Bible, he got fringes on and he knows scriptures. Can't nothing go wrong. And that's where we go wrong at. we missed the flags. We missed the things we're supposed to be looking for because we blinded by finding someone that's in the faith and courting them. But everybody that you meet in the faith is not ready to be a spouse. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Everybody you meet doesn't have to be a potential spouse. But when you first come in and you're trying to court, and that's all you see is like, oh man, this person, the truth. Oh man, this got to be from the Lord, and a lot of times it's not. A lot of times it's not. So yeah, you got to have a foundation in the Most High. You got to be able to have the wisdom and understanding to be able to do these things righteously and be able to look for certain things when you're courting. So from there, I'm going to jump to Mark 3. Because what can happen is, again, when you're not on the same page, it gets to a point where you could be courting somebody and you'll find out that y'all don't really agree the way you think you do. You don't really agree, but a lot of people will still tend to try to make things work and try to change things around when you simply just don't agree. And when you do that, that's a recipe for disaster. And this goes back to Amos 3. So Mark chapter 3, and I'm going to start on verse Mark 3 and verse It's like I'm in the wrong chapter. Mark chapter 3 and verse 24. It says, and if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. And if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. So a lot of times people will find themselves not really being in agreement, and by the time they really get together, the whole thing just fall apart. The whole thing just fall apart because people are not taking taking the proper steps to even get to know the person they're dealing with. Like I said earlier, it's that infatuation of meeting someone, getting to know someone, but not really considering how serious it is. And if you mess up, if you get married and you mess up, you stuck with that person. You stuck with that person. You are stuck. You can't divorce. You can't put her away. You can't put him away. You'll be stuck and you have to figure it out. But that's what happens when, proper steps not being taken place. So go back to what the brother said. When you court somebody, you're gonna have to ask those hard questions. You gotta ask those hard questions. You gotta have that uncomfortable conversation. Cause like I said, courting is to see if y'all could be on the same page. Courting is to see if y'all can cohabitate and if you can work together, if y'all mesh well, if y'all can, walk the same path together on the same tip. You got to find out all these things, and a lot of that involves in asking the hard questions, getting to the bottom of it. Because let's be real, when you talking to someone, you putting on your best behavior. You wanna make that good impression. You wanna see that person. You wanna make that person see you in a good light. So we do everything we can to leave a good impression, a good mark, and we tend to avoid that. We don't want to have those hard conversations, those uncomfortable, awkward conversations, because we don't want that moment or that feeling to go away. And that's another thing. When you're courting, it shouldn't be based off just all feelings, because that would get you messed up for real. Emotions, it changes with the wind. Human emotions change with the wind. But when agreeing to marry someone and love someone, that's far beyond feelings. That's far beyond feelings because love is not an emotion. It's not really a feeling. It's an action. It's an action, and sometimes that action involves you doing things you don't want to do. But you have to get those things squared away before you even get to that point of marriage. Because, like I said, once you married, that's it. So you gotta have those tough conversations for sure. You gotta have that, and it's like this. This what I believe too, because going back to the whole being divided against each other, it's like this. You have to, and I'll speak for the sisters on this one when courting the man, right? Because it's easy to get deceived, and I see it happen so many times in the faith. So when the sister courting the dude, she has to see his driving force. I believe that a man's driving force is what he believes in. If he believes in something, that's going to be his driving force. And she has to see if that driving force is the Lord, is pleasing the Most High. It's doing what the scriptures say, is walking like Hamashiach, or striving to walk like Hamashiach. Because anybody can say they do it, but the actions can say something completely different. The trickery can happen. So a man's true driving force, what he believes in, is what he motivated by, is what he put his trust in. And if that's not aligning, and people still try to move forward with that, you just setting yourself up. So that got to be an important thing too. And even for brothers and sisters, what's her driving force? What's her motivation to be who she is? That's another thing, because again, you have people that's in the faith that they act like they're in the faith, but they're really not. They're really not. And then a lot of times, brothers, they'll get with sisters because they look good, and they end up finding out that they married a dragon because they didn't properly vet her either. I seen that happen too. And now, bro, the brother be stuck, can't put away. The brother be stuck. The brother be stuck. So courting is serious. Like, you gotta really see if y'all on the same time, the same thing, same mind, same spirit, same everything. Man, especially doctrine. Especially doctrine. If y'all don't agree on doctrine, don't even try that. Don't even continue with that. Is You're gonna be fighting an uphill battle. Again, speaking from experience, if you don't agree in doctrine, you're gonna be fighting an uphill battle. It's not gonna. It don't end well. It don't end well. And again, you wasting each other's time. You bring yourself heartache and pain because you find out you don't agree, and you're trying to force something. It's not gonna work. Even for brothers trying to, court sisters or trying to bring sisters into the faith, that's another thing. But a lot of times, if y'all don't agree, then it's best just to not even continue with that process because you're going to end up wasting your time. I wouldn't advise that at all, unless speaking for brothers, unless she's willing to learn, unless she's willing to be on your time. Because if she's not on your time, if she's not on your, trying to have the same mind as you, then it's going to be a waste of time. It's going to be for nothing. It's going to be for nothing. And that's another thing. Like for sisters who want to court a man, because we know sisters are a helpmate for the man. Sisters had to be willing to sisters had to be willing to fit into his life. I'm gonna say that. Sisters have to be willing to fit into his life. Because again, when we're dealing with the roles, men being the leaders and the providers and protectors, things like that. So it's the woman, the nurturer, the home, the home care and things like that that help me. The one that adds to the house, she has to be willing to come into his life, not the other way around. She has to be willing to come into his life and to add to his life. And that's another thing I've seen too, where sisters, they want the men to bend to their lifestyle, and it's not like that. If a woman don't want to add or don't want to come into your life, into your lifestyle, then that's not going to work. If a sister, if you can't come into a man's life and add onto it, that's not going to work. Because women's job is to be helpmeets, and men are to lead and to provide and to protect and do these things and to make sure that that house and she is taken care of. That's another thing too. You have to be able to come into his life and to add to it and to fit into his life. That's just how it goes. And men has to be men. Men got to be men. Men can't be soft. I'm gonna say that. If a brother has issue with being soft, then you shouldn't court a woman. You shouldn't. Because when things get real, you have to be able to lay that law. According to the Most High, you have to be able to lay the law. And if you can't, then your whole house is going to fall apart. And these roles has to be understood. These things has to be understood when you're courting, because if these things not established and understood, and you just winging it, no, that's not how that goes. That's not how that goes. That's not how that goes at all. At all. Courting is not to be played with. Courting is not, oh, what's your favorite color and what's your favorite food? That stuff not going to sustain the marriage. It's not trying to find out their favorite music. That stuff not going to sustain. That stuff is unimportant, actually. Your favorite place to go, a place you want to travel to, your favorite food, your favorite dinner, was something you can eat forever. That stuff don't matter. That stuff don't matter at all. But people think that stuff matters, and it don't. Those serious topics are not being discussed. Those serious things are not being established. And you have to do that. You have to do that. You have to be able to talk about, okay, you know, I want the house to be ran like this. Are you okay with that? Do you agree to that? Okay, how many children, how you want this to go, things like that. You have to be able to do that. Okay, so I want this kind of wife, I want this kind of husband. And you got to be seeing if that person fit that description. You got to see if that person fits that description. You have to. You have to. So it gets to a point where when all that affection wear off, infatuation wear off, what kind of person you're really dealing with. Salagit. Someone said, Sister Napat, is it ever okay to put your hands on a woman during disagreements? I feel like that's something that should be known. And the reason why I'm highlighting this because so many stories came out about this. The Most High is not dealing with that. The Most High, Yahweh is not dealing with that. That's never there's never grounds to be hitting you and beating your wife. You cannot do that. You cannot do that. That's not the spirit of the Most High. That's not the spirit of the Most High. And if anyone dealing with that, you gotta pray to the Most High. If you're married, like if you're married, and I don't mean that whole sexist marriage doctrine nonsense. If you're married, you have to pray about that because that's not the moves. That's not the moves. Even scriptures talk about men not being bitter towards their wives. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna get that real quick. I'm gonna get that real quick. I'm gonna get that real quick in Colossians. I'm gonna get that real quick in Colossians because those also reports of within Israel that these things go on. Colossians real quick. I believe I want chapter 3. Let me see. Colossians chapter 3. This is what I want. Yeah, I want this. I'm gonna read this real quick. Verse 18 to 19. So it says this. It says, "Wives, submit yourselves unto your husbands as is fit unto the Lord." Now, I don't really want to get to the marriage aspect. I want to focus on courting before you get married. But verse 18 says, "Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands as it is fit in the Lord." Verse 19, it says, "Husbands, love your wives and be not bitter against them." So husbands can't be sitting around beating and abusing their wives and being bitter for no reason towards their wives. When you think about Yahweh Shah, think about the Most High, they don't deal with us like that until we mess up. And I don't mean by abusing, but I mean as far as correcting and rebuking. I'm talking about correcting and rebuking, but the Most High loves his wife. The Most High, Yahweh Shah, loves the bride. So that's the same way that we have to be when we dealing with wives or even women in general. If we're courting her, we gotta be loving towards them. But again, I want to deal with just the courting aspect. I don't want to deal with marriage, but just courting, because a lot of people get that part wrong, and that set the tone to the whole marriage if they have one. That's going to set the whole entire tone. So when you're courting, you got to really be making sure you're getting what you need to get as far as answers and how that person behaves and how that person acts. You have to get you have to get that understanding, because you're going to find yourself in a tough situation like I have years ago. Like I said, I experienced these things, and I can I can speak on it. So you have to learn. You got to learn that person that you're dealing with, and that's going to take time. That's one thing I messed up when I first came in. When I first came to the truth, and I started courting someone. It didn't take me long to say, yeah, I want this person. And I'll be honest, it didn't take me long at all. It did not take me long at all. You can't really fully learn someone within a few months. You cannot. You can't even see that person in every season. You gotta see that person in every season and how they act. Because storm's gonna come. That winter season, that winter's gonna come where you'll really see the spirit of a person. You'll see that. And that's something you may have to wait for when you're courting somebody. You might got to sit back and just watch and see what they do when things getting real, when y'all in a disagreement, when y'all can't really come to a conclusion with something, with whatever it is. That part is important when you're courting too, because, and I think that's good. I think that's good for understanding how that person acts, and you can also see again how the marriage going to go if y'all decide to move forward. So let's say you've been courting somebody for let's say a year, and let's say for a few months, 3 or 4 months, there's been times where it got kind of rough. If you know that within those time periods that y'all can rightfully come to a conclusion and rightfully work out in love, in peace, and righteousness, and come to an agreement with whatever it is, then you'll know 9 times out of 10 that marriage is gonna go like that. But if you find yourself y'all can't get along and y'all blocking each other and y'all subbing on social media and y'all just going back and forth constantly and y'all being petty and going and tit for tat, then you know that's not the moves. You know that's not the moves. That's not the moves. If you can righteously, what's the word I'm looking for? Um, resolve an issue, then you know it's not going to work. Exactly. Prove a friend. Sirach 7. You gotta prove a friend. If you get a friend, you gotta prove them. Matter of fact, let's get that real quick. Let's get that. And I got another one to add to that. I have another one to add to that. So let's get that real quick. I'm glad you pulled that out. The water, brother. The water. Sirach 6 and 7. Check this out. It says, I'm chapter 5, Salakia. It says, if thou wouldst get a friend, prove him first, and be not hasty to credit him. You cannot be too quick and be like, oh, this person is for me. I found my one. I found my soulmate. You've been courting for 3 months and 4 months, and you tell me, oh, that's his soulmate now. You haven't even seen that person when they angry. You haven't seen that person when they faced with some kind of trial. You haven't seen that person when y'all don't get along. Y'all don't get along. If I believe that the way a person treats you when it's rough is a determining factor to know if that person's for you or not. So, for example, let's say for brothers, if you trying to court a woman and you knowing that she's challenging you and she's popping off at the mouth and she won't stop talking and she's belittling you and emasculating you, then you know that's not for you. And if you're a woman and you dealing with a brother that's putting his hands on you, that's cussing you out and calling you all kind of you know what, then you know that person ain't for you. You know that. Now I'm not saying you may get into. I'm not saying an argument may not get heated. Those things do happen. Arguments do get heated, but when there's disrespect and pure unrighteousness involved, then you know that's not the moves. That's not the moves. So look, let's go to Sirach 19:24 real quick because I want to add to that. Sirach 19:24, because scriptures talk about that kind of person. Sirach 19 and verse 24. Slugging, not that one. That's not the one I want. Sirach 19 and 4. Slugging. Sirach 19 and 4. It says, he that is hasty to give credit is light-minded, and he that sinneth shall offend against his own soul. So I want the first part. I want to focus on the first part. It says, he that is hasty to give credit is light-minded. I mean, you're simple. You're simple. If you're so quick, oh yeah, I found the one. Well, how long you been talking to that person? Man, bro, it's been 5 weeks. Man, what? You just started. You don't even know the person. Yeah, but she's it. I know she's it. I can tell. Love at first sight. No, that's no. You're simple. You're simple. You're simple as crap. Same thing for sisters. Oh yeah, I found my man. I found my man. It's been 2 months. Everything is going so right. It just feels so right. I can't believe it. I'm blessed. You're simple. You're simple. Cause you have that old, we all know the what's the saying? The bait and switch. People do that. They will bait you in, and once they lock you down, they switch just like that. They'll switch just like that. You got to give that thing time. You got to give that thing time. You got to be able to see once that infatuation really wears off and everything's kind of, simmering down, then you'll see how a person really feel about you. Because infatuation, that's all it is. Infatuation is not love. It's not love. It's not, it's not, infatuation to me can be disingenuous. It can be deceiving. It can be deceiving. Because you may think you want that person until it wears off. You realize, I don't like this person like that. I'm pretty sure some can attest to that. Once that infatuation wears off, like I don't really. I thought I like this person, but I really don't. That's how you know that's just infatuation. It wasn't real. It's a ball of fresh emotions. It feels good. It feels nice for the moment. It feels nice for the moment. But if you can find yourself be able to still deal with that person, still rock out and still build, even after that moment is gone, then y'all can come together in marriage. Y'all can work together. Y'all can mesh together well in each other's lives. And I believe that's how you'll know. Once that part is over and you know that y'all have a solid foundation, y'all both on the same path, y'all both believe the same, y'all both working towards the same goals, that's how you'll know. I believe that's how you'll know. Not when y'all mindset is too different, it's not going to work. But again, because scriptures talk about that, having a wife after your mind. And sisters gotta be able to vet a man to see if he's a man of understanding. A man of that's important too, because women will get with dudes that have no understanding, that don't even know what he's talking about, or don't know what he's doing, or don't have no vision. Brothers gotta have vision. That's important. A brother can't be out here just winging it and just going with the flow. Whatever happens, happens. That's not good. That's not good. A man is going to have vision, and that vision is, of course, led by the Most High. But a man that's really marriage material is going to have vision, because he's going to have insight, and he's going to know how he's going to run his house. He's going to know where and how he want to carry his family. He's going to know how he want things to be done. He already know how he's going to have things established. He know how it's going to work. He's going to be running his house. But a man who just, let's just see where it goes. Let's just, kick it. Let's go with the flow. No. In the world, that sounds good. That sounds ideal in the world, but we're not in the world. We in the faith. We trying to build a righteous family. So that whole going with the flow is not the moves. It's not the moves at all. You're gonna need someone with vision. And for brothers, you're gonna need someone that's going to be about your vision. You're gonna need someone that's about your vision. You're gonna need that, because it's a perfect balance. Because she can help you with your vision. She can help you get there, and she can assist you in whatever you need to be assisted on. And by a sister knowing man has vision, then she knows she's covered. She knows that this man's gonna take them where they need to go. She gonna know that he got her protected. A man with no vision, he can't do that. He cannot do that. He cannot. The way the Most High have it is perfect. It's a perfect balance where man and woman need each other. They build off each other when the things are done righteously. And you learn all that when you're courting. You got to learn that thing before you seal it up. And that, again, that takes time. That takes a lot of time to learn that thing. So again, people get together too quick, and they realize that person ain't what they thought they were, or that person is not what they necessarily need. And by that time, it's too late. So gotta have vision. And matter of fact, scriptures talks about that in Proverbs. I believe it's 24:3. I think. Let me see. In Proverbs 24. Let me get it real quick. Scriptures definitely talk about that. Proverbs 24. I believe this is it. That's not it. Let me find it real quick. I believe it might be 29. So like y'all, let me find this real quick. So the scriptures do talk about this. I'm gonna find it. But to paraphrase it, it says, without the vision, the people fail. If I can find that real quick and post it, because I can't find it. But without vision, the people fail. Paraphrasing, and that's what's going to end up happening. Without vision, without direction, it's going to doom. It's doomed to fail. It's going to fail. So man got to have vision, a plan, a direction, and woman got to be able to fit into that, believe in that vision and that plan, and be willing to join him in that vision and help him with it. You got to be able to. It says, before I continue reading, it says, at a certain point, should the two that are courting move in together to experience how it's going to be to live with the one they are courting, or should that not happen until after marriage? Yes, do not, no. No, because what's going to happen is you're going to end up fornicating. No, you're going to end up fornicating. No, you should not move in together. No, no, no. Do not do that. Bad idea. You're going to end up fornicating, and the Most High is not with that. The Most High is not with that. Now, if an event that ever happened, then you have to get married. You have to. If people decide to do this, move in together, and they end up going off like that, then you have to get married. That's it, because you messed up. You have to, because if you don't, then you participate in the whoredom. That's just what you're doing. So this should not happen at all. You should be able to get an idea by how they live to know how they, how y'all can mesh, but to just move in, not a good idea. It's not wise. It's not wise. Hey, Salaki, Proverbs 29 and 18. I knew it was chapter 29. Salaki, come on, y'all. 29 and verse 18. I was right there. It says, where there is no vision, the people perish, but he that keepeth the law, happy is he. So where there's no vision, if a man don't got no vision for how he going to run things and how he going to lead his wife and family, it's going to fail. It's going to fail. So, sisters, make sure if you courting a man, make sure he got some kind of vision and some kind of direction to how he going to have things being operated. And for brothers, make sure if you're courting a sister, she want to be a part of that. She wants to add to that. If she don't want to add to that, then you're going to find yourself going up a hard road. You're going to find yourself having a hard time getting to that vision. You're going to be met with a lot of opposition. So the process of courting should be seeing if y'all can work together in unity, in harmony. That's the whole thing about marriage. It's harmony. One accord, one flesh. It's not divided. It's all one. So y'all really had to be one in everything. And I ain't talking about small things that don't matter, or like, oh, I don't like this food, or I don't like that shirt you wear. No, that don't matter. But the main things, the non-tangible things, that stuff matters. That stuff matters. Because that's a world of chaos when you find out that that person has no vision, or where it's a mess when you find out that man has no vision, or that woman, it's not really a part of your vision, and you still continue to do that. It's going to be a world of chaos. So that's important. That's very important. Courting is not a game, because when you're really married, that's it. That's it. A man has to be, when you're a man, you're trying to get a wife, you got to make sure you know how to command your house. You gotta make sure you know how to command your house in righteousness. And righteousness. The scriptures talk about that. When the Most High mentioned about Abraham, he said that I knew that he's a man that's going to command his children. Matter of fact, let's get it. Genesis 18. Genesis 18. So our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and Noah, and And the prophets, they knew how to run their households. They knew how to command their house. They knew how to conduct it according to the Most High. Genesis 18. Genesis 18, 17. I'm going to start there. And the Lord said, shall I hide from Abraham that thing which I do? Seeing that Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. Verse 19, here's the point. It says, for I know him, that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Lord, to do justice and judgment, that the Lord may bring upon Abraham that which he has spoken spoken of him. Salaki. So if you're a brother that's having trouble with taking lead and laying law, and being a strong man, because it's going to take for you to be a strong man to even lead a family. Again, you're dealing with a wife and children. Those are multiple souls in your hands. So if you cannot do that, then at that moment you shouldn't be courting a woman. You should not be courting a woman. And for women, if you cannot take his guidance, or if you can't take his law, if you have a problem with how he commands things, then you shouldn't be courting either, because that's showing you that you have a problem with order. And we're assuming we talking about righteous men and righteous women. We're not talking about the wicked. We're not talking about wicked men. We're not talking about wicked women. So we talking about men that striving to be in the Most High. We talking about women that striving to be in the Most High. So if a man cannot do that, then he should not be courting. If a woman cannot take that type of commandment or that type of guidance, she shouldn't be courting. And that's something you gotta look forward to. You gotta look for that. If you're dealing with a man, he can't really. You find yourself running all over him, and you finding yourself that you're taking lead. You find yourself that you're giving him commandments. Then that's not a man that you can look up to. That's gonna do what he needs to do as a husband, and vice versa. If you court a woman and you find yourself she can't listen, she can't take direction, then no, you should not be. That's not going to work. So before I continue, read this real quick. It says, when courting a brother, should a woman expect him do lessons with her and teach her weekly? Should she only learn from him? I heard people say this before. Yeah, you're supposed to learn. Yes, you're supposed to learn from him. Yeah, because if you're courting him, then you want to see if you can learn from him. You want to see if he can teach you. If he can't teach you nothing, if you can't learn from him, don't deal with him. If you cannot learn from him, if he's not willingly teaching you, if he's not showing you things in the scriptures, if he's not trying to get your spirit right according to the word, things like that, you shouldn't do it. Now weekly, I mean that's subjective, I wouldn't say weekly or every day, it just depending on that, those people, but he got to be able to teach you and show you something. You got to be able to break certain things down, even basic things. You got to be able to do these things because the Most High set men up to be the teachers, the leaders. You can't lead something if you can't teach. And I don't mean teaching as far as being on the streets, things like that. No, but if you have a household, you got to be able to get that household on up to speed with things. You got to teach them, guide them, and pour into them the spirit of the Most High. The spirit came from the Most High down to the men, and we pass it on down to the women, to the wives, to the children. That's how that works. So if you find yourself not being able to learn from him, if he's not really teaching you, then no. And yes, you should learn from him only. Yes, learn from him only. Because what's going to happen is if you learn it from different dudes, that's when there's confusion. That's where confusion comes in, because that man may not necessarily agree with that other man that you learn from. That's going to cause issues. That's going to cause a big issue, especially when dealing with men. That's going to cause a big issue. I'm telling you that right now. If a man's trying to deal with you, and he find out you're going to another man to learn something, it's going to be a serious problem. No, men who's really of the Most High, they want you to learn from him only. Men, I know that's of the Most High. They want you to learn from him only. Only. They don't do that. Learn from this guy and that guy. No, they don't do that. They don't do that. Most men is not with that. Con. Genuine righteousness is what should be looked for. Exactly. Genuine, right? Exactly. Genuine. That's the thing. Genuine righteousness. Forced righteousness. Oh man, I'm so lucky. I'm laughing because I'm thinking about certain things, but if it has to be forced, no, that's not even coming from the sincereness of your heart. That's worse than it being fake. To me, that's worse than it being fake. If it's forced, and that's not a good feeling. That's not a good feeling at all. That is not a good feeling. But yeah, you have to be able to learn from him and him only. But you gotta be able to know if he's a man of understanding. That's another thing. He has to be a man of understanding. And look, every man is not a man of understanding. I'm gonna just say that. Every man that can pull a scripture and that can see a few things is not a man of understanding. You gotta be able to prove that man to see if he's a man of understanding. And that's for you to decide because that's your soul. You gotta decide if he's really leading you according to the Most High. Not according to what you want him to lead you as, but according to the Most High. So let me get this real quick. Let me get this. Sirach 6. Sirach 6 and verse 36. It says, and if thou seest a man of understanding, give thee batons unto him, and let thy foot wear the steps of his door. So again, the first part I want to focus on. If you see a man that's understanding, you want to cleave to that man. Cleave to the man that has understanding, because you know that he's going to be able to teach you and guide you and raise you up in certain ways you need to be raised up in. Proverbs 19:8, real quick. Good, a little bit more on that. Proverbs 19:8. Proverbs chapter 19 and verse 8. It says, he that getteth wisdom loveth his own soul. He that keepeth understanding shall find good. So if a man is growing, if a man has wisdom, if a man has understanding, of course he doing of course he's doing himself good. But that's also going to benefit you if that man has wisdom. If he's wise, a man of integrity, a man of understanding, that's going to benefit you as well as a woman. And that's something you have to look out for too. If a man has understanding, is he wise in the things that he do and say? And that's take time to understand that too. Because every brother is not where they should be as far as wisdom. Let me see. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. The last step before making a permanent decision, you have to be wise. Because yeah, that's one of the most important decisions you're going to make in your life. When you tie that thing up, your life, your life ain't the same. Like you in a marriage. You in a marriage. And if you have children, you have children. Your life is not the same. It's not the same. So you got to be able to understand that and see that, and that takes discernment. That takes discernment, and that takes really. It takes discernment. I'm gonna say that it takes discernment. So you yourself has to have a level of understanding as well, because there's a lot of deceivers, and we've seen it happen where men, deceive women into being into a fake marriage and teaching them fake things. That's all I'm gonna say on that. But yeah, you got to be able to see if he has wisdom. It says sometimes brothers say that because they're jealous of any man having influence over their. Well, here's the thing. Another man should not have influence over your woman. That's what it is. If another man is able to influence your woman, then that's not your woman. No, because you're running your household how you run your household, according to the Most High, of course. But You're running your household how you run your household. That is your house. Can't no other man come into your house and say this and change things around and persuade your woman's mind. No, no. So jealous, mm, I wouldn't say jealousy, but that's more of a. I mean, you know what? You can say jealousy. Yeah, it is. It's a righteous jealousy. It's righteous, yes. If a man is influencing your woman, no, that's not going to fly. Because you're teaching your woman, you're teaching your household how you see fit according to the Most High. I keep saying that because everything is, everybody don't do everything according to the Most High, but you're teaching your household according to the Most High how you see fit, how you want it to go. So, yeah, no man should be able to do that. Matter of fact, scripture say that. Let me get it. 1 Corinthians 14. Hold on. 1 Corinthians 14. Let me get that real quick. 1 Corinthians 14 and verse 35. It says, and if they will learn anything, talking about the women, let them ask their husbands at home, for this is shame for women to speak in the church. So scriptures say if a woman gonna learn anything, let her learn from her husband. She's not supposed to go to different men and learn different things and get different understandings, because that's going to cause confusion. It's going to cause pure confusion. It's going to bring chaos to the man's house, especially if he's teaching her and guiding her differently. No, it don't go like that, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. Exactly right. So exactly right. That's actually out of order. Yes, that's out of order. That's out of order. If a man is sitting here dealing with another woman that's courting or married, and he's trying to teach her something, that's out of order. That's a big no-no. That is a big, you don't do that. So yeah, the woman's supposed to learn from that man. And she's supposed to be able to learn or figure out if she can learn from him while they're courting. That's her job to do that. So let's continue. Proverbs chapter 1. Matter of fact, back to the whole command his household, because we're talking about that. Joshua 24 and 15. And that's part of a man being able to command his own house. That's a part of it. You got to be able to command your own house and guide it and teach it. A man ain't supposed to be able to come in and change things around, especially if you're courting somebody. No. He is not supposed to be able to come in and teach her and show her different things that's what you're not showing or trying to show her or deal with her with. So Joshua 24. Joshua 24. And we all know this. We all know this. Joshua 24. I can't even get the scripture slogging. Page is so thin. Joshua 24 and verse 15. That's what Joshua says. It says, and if it seem evil unto you to serve the Lord, choose you this day whom you will serve, whether the gods which your fathers served that were on the other side of the flood, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land ye dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. And that's the mentality that brothers got to have when they're trying to court or marry a woman. You got to be able to have that mindset that me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. We're going to serve the Lord. We're going to do this. And it's that man's job to be able to lay that foundation and set that government up to run his house according to the way the Most High wanted to be ran. That's commanding your house. Sisters, if a man's not doing that, or if you're not seeing that quality in that man, then you know that you can't continue to court that man, because he's not commanding his house the way it needs to be commanded. And you need, we know women need reassurance, security, and structure. We know that protection, provision, security, and structure. If a man cannot provide that, then you know that man's not ready. Not saying he won't ever get ready, but at that moment he's not ready, because marriage is a serious thing. Remember, your soul is on the line. Your soul is with him. For brothers, their souls is in your hand. So it's serious. You got to be able to command your house and really guide it the way it's supposed to be guided. And we learn that through your course, learning of the Most High, learning of Yahweh Shah. We see how Yahweh Shah dealt with the church because the church is the bride of Yahweh Shah. So we see how he dealt with, his wife, the church. We see that. He made sure they was good. He taught them. He laid the law. He rebuked. He corrected. And he did all these things through love. When it got real, it got real. But all these things was done in love and in righteousness. So we got to be the same way. We got to be, marriage is a reflection of the Most High and us. That's how ours should be. So, men being the leaders, the providers, the protectors, the teachers, the lawgivers. So it's the church, the obedient, the servant, the listener, the one that follows. That's the church, aka the woman. It should be that same reflection. And if you're courting and that's not what the reflection of, then that's not going to be a good union. It's not going to be a good union. It says it's not just men. There are some wicked sisters who pretend that they are praying and fasting for you to help you when in reality they are preparing your downfall. Are you talking about sisters against them praying on downfall for the men or other women? I'm not sure what you are getting at with that one, sister. It says in terms of listening to other male teachers online, if the wife understands her husband's law already. No. I mean, unless that husband, see, that's where it gets subjective. It depends on the man. A certain man may not want you to listen to nobody, just him. Whereas you may have another man that be like, listen, we saying the same thing, so it's okay. So that gets subjective. It all depends on that man or how he want to run his house. That man may not. Every man's different. He may not run it the same exact way as the next man. So it all depends. Like I said, some men is like, no, nobody, only me. Whereas other men like, well, yeah, go ahead. I don't care. It all depends on that man. And you learn that when you court. You learn that when you court. You learn how strict he is. You learn how lenient he is. You learn, you learn how he is. You learn that. You learn all these things when you court. You have to. You got to know these things because, again, marriage is serious. And if it's not something that you can join with that particular person, then there's no need to continue down that road. And a lot of people do that anyways. A lot of people will continue down that road courting, knowing that it's not a good matchup. No, it's not a good matchup. And they find themselves in a hard marriage. And with kids involved, good Lord. it's real. It is real. So you got to learn all these different things when you're courting. What kind of content they listen to, the things they subscribe to. That's another thing. What they subscribe to, the music, the entertainment, the environment. You got to learn all these things about the person that you're courting. How they was raised, that's important too. How they are raised, that's important too. If they were raised in a very peaceful environment, a very loving home, then that person got love within them because that element of love is instilled in them. Versus a person who was brought up off of chaos and madness and destruction, then that bit of chaos and destruction and madness is still in them. And if so, then that person not quite ready. You gotta learn everything about a person before you can say, you know what, I can see myself spending my life with this person. Because it's that serious. Says I was told like 2 years ago, if a woman isn't married, she isn't covered and will go to hell because she is a reproach. Golly. That's not funny, but no, that's not true. A woman don't have to be married to be protected or covered. She don't have to be. It's good to be married, but she don't have to be married to get protection to be covered. Every man, every woman may not be married. So, because you have widows, you have unmarried widows, things like that. You have women who may dedicate their whole life to the Most High and don't want to get married, and that's fine. So they don't have to be married, but you're not going to get destroyed if you're not married. So, but just know when you want to get married, you gotta take these things into consideration. You gotta take all of those things into consideration because if you don't, it's chaos. It's chaos. It's not going to end well. It's not going to end well at all. And I'm gonna tell you, when you're courting, you have to. I believe you have to know the nature of the opposite sex to a degree. And what I mean by that is, for example, right? Let's say women, right? Women, we know naturally are more emotional. That's just a fact. So, as brothers courting wives, we have to be mindful that women are going to be more inclined to the emotional side than logical. So, by men understanding that, has to have a level of understanding that they got to deal with them accordingly based off that, and vice versa. Men are more stern and logical and more by nature aggressive. So women have to understand that when they court a man and to know that certain things could trigger that man and deal with him according to that. So when you're courting, I believe that you have to understand that to a degree, understanding the nature of the opposite person, because that plays a huge role as well. We don't think the same. We don't think the same. We don't behave the same. We have the same emotions, but we don't think, we don't operate, and we don't act the same. So that's another thing too. When you're courting, you have to take those things into consideration. Men do not act like women by nature. I don't mean by brainwash indoctrination, but I mean by nature. Men do not act like women, and women do not act like men by nature. So it's very important to also understand the nature of the person, because that plays a role too. That plays a role too. That plays a big role. Men don't see things the same as a woman. We don't see things through the same lenses, and a lot of times, courting, we expect the person to see things the same exact way through the same exact lens, and by that can cause issues unnecessarily as well, because we just we don't think the same. We got to be able to connect as man and woman as one. We got to be able to connect on that natural level, and by that I mean understanding how we operate. You got to understand how we operate, because we don't operate the same, and I think that's one thing a lot of people do forget when courting. We want them to act like us, and vice versa. So that's important too. But courting, man, courting is it's so subjective. It's so subjective because, like I said in the beginning, it's different from every person. It's not the same. And I don't really want to get into tangibles because that goes without saying. A man got to be able to bring a woman in, into a house. He got to be able to provide and things like that, and have some kind of income. We all know that, so I don't want to speak on the obvious things. But as far as actually trying to build with someone and trying to trying to become one with somebody, I want to focus on that. Trying to become one with somebody. All those things gotta take into consideration. So I mean, like I said, courting to be beautiful. Courting to be beautiful, but it also can be disastrous. It can be disastrous um if certain things are ignored. I'll say that. If things are ignored and proper steps not being taken and red flags, things like that being ignored and just caught up in a whole bunch of emotions, it can be disastrous. And we definitely don't want that. So that's pretty much all I got. That's my little perspective on courting. My little 2 cents on how I think it should go, or things we should look out for as men and women. because marriage is beautiful when it's done right, and it's beautiful when it's with the right person. But with the wrong one, man, it could be hell. It can be hell. So that's pretty much all I got, family. And I know for a fact there were some things that I'm forgetting to mention that might come up later on. So, but for right now, that's pretty much all I got. Um, so Lord willing, that was something that you can take back for yourselves. Before I close out, like I said, I'm gonna take a couple of questions and comments before I close out. But courting is serious. Courting is serious, and I want to take that lightly. I want to take it lightly. Just learning, going through certain things, knowing what I know now. I wouldn't take that lightly. Yeah, you gotta take your time, man. You gotta take your time. You gotta take your time. I can't stress that enough. You gotta take your time, man, because you think you know somebody until one day, until one day. You think you know somebody until one day they show you that one thing that had you like, what? What? Hey, so like it real quick. Give me 1 sec, y'all. 1 sec. All right, so like you had to bring some light in here, but yeah, like I was saying, like you may think you know somebody, and then next thing you know, you got hit with the whole bait and switch. So you gotta take your time and learn the person. I mean, and enjoy the process. Like I said, like courting can be a beautiful thing. Enjoy the process, but don't ignore the things that needs to be um looked upon or considered. Don't ignore those things because you want to be with somebody, or you want to get married, and like the sister Modest T said, you like the idea of being married. Big one, big one. Liking the idea of marriage don't mean the person you're courting is fit for you per se. All praise to the Most High. All praise to the Most High. The water, sister, the water, the water. So you cannot divorce? No, you can't divorce. Nope. Except there be grounds of adultery. You cannot divorce. No. Once you're married, that's it. Now you can separate. You can separate. You shouldn't separate. You should not separate. But let's say if the woman do decide to separate from the husband, she has to remain unmarried or reconcile. You got to reconcile. You can't go marry and be with somebody else. That's adultery. And same thing with the husbands. You can't divorce a wife, like I said, except for being adultery. You can't divorce her. So if you get with a woman and you find out that she's not what you thought you were or she were when you was courting, you stuck, brother. You stuck. You got to find a way to work around it, find a way to grow. And you never know. Some people, they may start off rocky, but they end up growing in the marriage and learning what works and what don't work. That can happen too. It may start off rough, but it may get better with time when y'all both trying to work it out. That can happen. But yeah, if you find out that the person you with is not what you thought it was, yeah, you can't divorce. That's it. That is it. So yeah, you gotta be careful. Like I said, it's a beautiful thing. It's a good process, but only one is it's the right person. And everybody you come across in the truth don't have to be a potential spouse. I gotta say that. Everybody that you come across in the truth don't have to be a potential spouse. It could just be another brother or sister. It could be a good brother, good sister. They don't have to be a potential spouse. Now it's up to you to say if you want to try to court and try to take it to another level, see where things go. But every person you meet don't have to be a potential spouse for marriage. Yeah, pray. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, let me get it real quick. Proverbs 3 and 6. Good precept. Good precept. Proverbs 3 and 6. Proverbs chapter 3 and verse 6. It says, matter of fact, I'm starting from verse 5. Starting from verse 5. It says, trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not unto thy own understanding. Now, when you start doing, we all know this, when you start doing that, you messing yourself up. Oh, I think I can go ahead and make this work. Oh, I think, they're not really the truth yet, but I think I can go ahead and do. Nah, you're going to mess yourself up. You leaning on your own understanding. You leaning on your own understanding. You can't do it how you think it should go. It has to be according to the Most High. So you have to be on one accord. You have to be equally yoked, and you have to go through the proper steps. Because if you don't, you're going to mess yourself up. Verse 6, it says, in all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. It says, and be not wise in thy own eyes. Fear the Lord and depart from evil. So there's another thing. Don't be wise in your own eyes. Don't think you're going to just make someone change and you're going to, you could change a person. No, it don't work like that. That's another thing. We try to get with someone and try to change them after the fact when we know it was already red flags from the beginning. But in our minds, we so, wise in our own minds and so convinced within our own selves, we think that if we get with that person, we can change them. Don't work like that. It don't work like that. That person is who they are when you met them. This is how it goes. That person is who they are when you met them. You cannot come in and change that person. Man, especially for the brothers. Especially for brothers. I mean, I think I think for brothers, I think it's something in us to wanna, I don't want to say change, but we wanna be able to raise up a woman. I really believe there's something in us men that we want to be able to raise up a woman. So we will be more inclined to take one that's in the world and try to dust it off and clean it up and wash it and raise it up. But a lot of times, man, that's no. A lot of times that is not it. If she don't already have a foundation or established somewhat in the faith, man, it can be disastrous. It can be very disastrous. So, especially for brothers, man, you gotta be careful with that one. When you're trying to court someone in the world, and I would say for women, don't even consider a man. Don't even consider courting a man in the world. I think men have a better chance than women doing that. But for women, do not try to take a man from the world and try to bring him to. No, do not do that. I don't know why women do that. Oh my gosh, I do not know why. I don't know why. Do not do that. Do not do that. Do not try to take a man and bring him into the truth and try to build him up. Don't do that. Oh my gosh. Don't do that. Don't do that. Oh man, you're gonna set yourself up for a world of turmoil. Good grief. Good grief. I don't know, because I've seen that happen so many times. I don't know why a lot of sisters do that. I don't know. I've seen that happen so many times. Yeah, he no worry about. I'm trying to show him. I'm trying to bring. What are you doing? What are you doing? No, don't do that. Don't do that. Cause a lot of times, man, men not hearing that. Men not hearing that. Men are not hearing that for the most part. Men are not hearing that. I mean, cause naturally, you're not supposed to teach a man. Naturally, you're not supposed to Captain save. Right. Right. Captain save him. Save your complex. That's a real thing. Save your complex, exactly. So don't do that. If they're not already in the faith or don't have a foundation in your Hawashai and Hamashiach, don't be trying to do that. Man, good Lord. This is wild. The camp I was in said that you shouldn't be talking to anyone that you're not courting. Wait, the camp I was in said that you shouldn't be talking to anyone that you're not courting if you're both single. Well, yeah, I don't know. What? You shouldn't be talking to. Yeah, that's garbage. That don't make sense. I mean, if you're not trying to, I don't know. I don't. That's dumb. I don't know. Right, con. Right. Don't. Oh man. Don't believe the promise of. Oh man. Don't believe the promise of change. No, don't do that. What you see, what you see in that person for the most part is what you're going to get. Assuming that you passed the infatuation stage, assuming y'all had some time in, what you see, what you're going to get. If they ain't already trying to change for themselves within, then yeah, no, no, nope, it's not good. It's a no go. It is a no go. It is no go. I'm telling you, it's serious like that. It's a set. It's a setup. Some women just like. I don't even want to get into that. I don't want to get into that at all. I don't even want to get into that one. I don't even want to get into that one. Cause that's facts for a lot. They said we could only seek advice from those that are married. I mean, if you seeking marital advice, I mean, then it's best to get advice from someone who's married for years, But I mean, that's not wrong advice though. That's really not. If a married couple can give you some pointers on what to do and what to look for and things to do, not to do, then yeah, it's nothing wrong with that. Because for them it worked, so they did something right. So nothing wrong with that. But you gotta be making sure that you doing your due diligence. Make sure you do your due diligence and proving that person, and not just for a month or two, but you're gonna have to prove that person for a while. Like I said, I believe you got to see that person in every season to know if that person is a good fit or not. In every season, when they happy, when they up, life is good. When they down, when they poor, when they depressed, when they angry, when they irritated, when they a little snappy. You gotta see all that. You gotta see all of that. You gotta see everything every season because you gotta know what you're going to get. So yeah, you gotta count that cost. You gotta know what you get yourself into. You gotta know who you get yourself involved with. You gotta know who you're getting involved with. So it says, so what if you married and divorced, got married again, and divorced before you came into the truth? Let's get Romans real quick. Romans real quick. Romans real quick. So if that happens and you come to the truth and you really renew yourself and you learn what's righteous, then the Most High will forgive that. The Most High will forgive that because you didn't know. You didn't know. You just didn't know. And scriptures say that, if you're not bound by the law, if you're not in the faith, so you can't force somebody to be following the laws and commandments if they're not even, if they don't believe in laws, if they don't adhere to that. But real quick, it says, verse Romans 7:1. Know ye not, brethren, for I speak to them that know the law, how that the law have dominion over a man as long as he liveth. So, for those who know the law, that law have dominion over you for as long as you live. Meaning, if you know the laws and commandments, then you're bound by it. If you know the laws and commandments and you know what's required of you, then you're bound by that. Verse 2. So it says, for the woman which have an husband is bound by the law to her husband so long as he liveth. But if the husband be dead, she is loosed from the law of her husband. So then, if while her husband liveth, she be married to another man, she shall be called an adulteress. But if her husband be dead, she is free from the law, so that she is no adulteress, though she be married to another man. So if you know the truth, if you know the laws and commandments, and you have a husband and he dies, you can be married. You're not adultery. Even in the world, if you have a husband that's dead, you can be married. Now, if you're in the faith and you be married and your husband is still alive, then you're adulterous. You are. If you're in the faith and you know what's required of you, and you get divorced and you're being married, you will be adulterous. Because if you know the law, you are bound by the law. It has dominion over you while you're alive. And that's why Paul later on he mentions about when the law was alive, I was made dead, paraphrasing. Because when you're alive and you know the law, it has dominion over you. Con, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, so if you was, if you was married and married in the world, married according to the world standards, you're not under the Most High commandments because you didn't know. But if he bring you in now, if say if you're married and you come to the truth and you know, then yeah, you still gonna be married to him. So let's say if you come to the truth and he's not, you still can't divorce him because then you know that yeah, this my husband, I gotta abide by him. Unless, unless he died. Yeah, unless he dies, because you never know, that husband could come to the faith. Scriptures talk about that too. So if you got married in the world, you came into the truth, but he didn't, you still bound by your husband. You still bound by that man. Yeah, you can't divorce and start over to because he married a worldly man. No, you still bound by him. But if you're divorced and you came to the truth, then yeah, you can restart over because now you have a fresh start. Because you didn't know at first. So, Lord willing, that makes sense. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No bright ideas. Yeah, no bright ideas. You can't go home and try to start an argument, just a divorce, and want to start over. No, you can't do that. You can't do that. No, yeah, you still bound by him. You still bound by him. Yeah. So, yeah, but that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it, man. Courting, man, take that thing serious. Take that thing serious as you can. Take all the time you need to make sure you are assured of that person. Do your due diligence. Make sure you're getting all your answers. I mean, all your questions answered. And sometimes those questions may not be in the form of, or those answers may not be in the form of a question. Sometimes you might just gotta sit back and just watch. Sometimes you just sit back and watch, see how the person operate. You'll get your answer. Sometimes you got to sit back and watch and see how that person act towards you and other people and how they operate in the faith. Because you'll get an answer like that too. Let's say a brother or sister, they keeping Sabbath and they wearing fringes, but throughout the week, they going to casinos and clubs and throwing money on women, or she doing side work, promiscuous work, and things like that. That's yeah. Yeah, you gotta make sure. You gotta make sure you vetting. Well, in that case in Hosea, the Most High told him to marry a whore because that was a prophecy. That's something different. That whole thing was symbolic for Israel. So the Most High told Hosea to marry a wife who was a whore because it was symbolizing Israel whorish ways. So that's something different. He told him to do that for a very specific reason. So, Khan. If two righteous people come together in marriage and both their roles and stay in their lanes, exactly, yeah, exactly, yeah. If two righteous people come together in marriage and both know their roles and stay in their lane, marriage is a beautiful union. Hey, I'm glad you said that, sister, because the thing about it too, a lot of us do know the roles, but a lot of us don't always operate in it, or they'll make excuses as to why they can't operate in their rules. Things like this, things like that. So yeah, if two righteous people come together in righteous in marriage and both know their rules and stay in their lane, marriage is a beautiful. Yeah, that's fact. I seen it. I see it. I witnessed it. I seen it. It's very beautiful. It's very beautiful. I seen it. So if you know your rules and you operating in your rules, even though, because I gotta say this too, even though things not going the way you want it to go, you still gotta operate in your role. You still gotta do that. A man can't stop being a provider and stop being the protector because his wife is tripping. A woman can't stop being submissive and stop being a nurturer and stop following and listening to her husband because he's tripping. No, you still gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta do what you gotta do because those times are gonna happen. Those times are gonna come where the spouse may be tripping, and it happens. Hey, all praise to the Most High. Look at this. All praises to the Most High. See, look, that's goals right there. I've been married for 23 years and counting. All praises to the Most High God of Israel, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's goals right there. 23 years? Shoot, man. People these days can't be married for 5 years because the Most High way, the Most High standard is not being followed. The Most High standard, the Most High's laws and commandments on how marriage should be done is not being followed. So it don't mean last as long, but for you to be going strong for 23 years is a blessing. All praise to the Most High. All praise to the Most High God. Yeah. It says I've read in New Testament your prayers could be what scripture is that? You right? It's like it's the Corinthians that your prayers be not hindered. Let me get that real quick. Salakia. Let me get that real quick. What is it? Where is it? Where is it? I gotta find it. But yeah, your prayers can be hindered. Uh, yeah. Oh, I said Corinthians. Peter, Salakia. First Peter 3:7. That was all wrong. First Peter 3:7. First Peter chapter 3 and verse 7. First Peter 3 and verse 7. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna start from verse 3. I mean verse 1. First Peter 3 and verse 1, because it all goes hand in hand. It says, likewise, ye wives, being in subjection to your own husbands, that if any obey not the word, they also may be without the word be won by the conversation of the wives, while they behold your chaste conversation coupled with fear, whose adorning let it not be that outward adorning of plaiting the hair, Shalakia, and the wearing of gold or of putting on of apparel, but let it be the hidden man of the heart, and that which is not corruptible, even the ornament of a meek and quiet spirit, which is in the sight of God of grace. I mean, of a great price, Shalakia. For after this manner, in the old time, the holy women also who trusted in God adorned themselves, being in subjection unto their own husbands. Even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord, whose daughters ye are, as long as ye do well, and are not afraid with any amazement. Verse 7. Likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife, as unto the weaker vessel, and as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered. Exactly. That your prayers be not. So women have to treat the husbands right. Husbands got to treat their wives right. And there's nothing wrong to give your wife honor. Do you honor? There's nothing wrong with that. That's a beautiful thing. Especially if she's in her full role and she's on it, she's on point. Give your wife honor. And same thing for the wives. Give your husband honor. Be in subjection and give him honor. Love your husband and love your wives. Yeah, exactly. That your prayers don't be hindered. Yeah, because that can happen. Because I mean, it don't make sense. You're trying to pray to the Lord, but your marriage not reflecting what the Most High have outline for us and him. Get immersed in your reflection of Yahushua in the church. So how you gonna pray and your household is not even where it's supposed to be yet concerning that? Salakia. Salakia. Yeah, so your prayers can be hindered. Yeah. Your prayers can be hindered. Yeah, the Most High will deny them praise. So yeah, so man, take your time, enjoy the process, but gotta be careful. Definitely gotta be careful. Be careful. Prove. Take your time, and prove some more until you know for a fact that y'all can be on one accord and be in agreement and walk the same walk together on one mind. So that's pretty much all I got, family. That's pretty much all I got. Um, Lord willing, we all can take something from this and use it in our lives and use it for us to get better, to like it and growing. Because marriage is serious, marriage is honorable, and it's not a game. It's beautiful, but it's not a game. So, man, Lord willing, y'all continue to enjoy y'all Sabbath. Continue to keep it holy, keeping it set apart. Keep being strong in the spirit. Keep striving. Keep growing. Keep learning. Keep seeking the Most High, and let's do what we got to do to get salvation. So, all praise to the Heavenly Father. In the name of the Son, Yahweh Shai. Shabbat Shalom.